Hi guys, hope you're all doing well, but today we need to talk about some Battlefield 2042. Now before I begin, I just want to say overall I think Battlefield 2042 is a solid game. As a big fan of the franchise itself, I'm just happy for some new content. However, there are some things you should know about the current state of the game, especially if you're jumping in for the first time. Now this is not a definitive list of any bugs and glitches. I'm sure there may be some more that present themselves in due time, but these are some of the key issues that I found out during my first few hours of playtime. Now, first of all, let's kick it off with performance, because this is the first thing that you'll notice when you jump into the game, at least on PC anyway. No matter what hardware you have, the game is going to tank in some situations. One map in particular is more guilty than others, and that map is the map Manifest. I'm not sure why, but in this map, there's something that your CPU just won't like at all. After looking at some performance measures, it does seem to be the CPU in most circumstances that will let you down, and also often my GPU frames will be in the hundreds, but my CPU frames will be in the mid 50s and 60 area. Just for perspective though, I have an i9 10850K, so it's not exactly a slow CPU, is what I'm trying to say there. At first I was like, maybe it's all the objects in the map, maybe it's the lighting effects, because it is set at nighttime, there is a lot going on, all the containers, all the players, the storm comes through, you know, it's tanks, explosions, everything's going on all at once. But either way, the performance is pretty worrying, and I don't feel that is justified. I feel it's more about poor optimization rather than the amount of things going on screen sometimes, or the visuals being too demanding or anything like that. And what really makes me believe this is that the next gen consoles so far seem to be absolutely fine and pretty rock solid. Now we will have to wait until the likes of Digital Foundry get their hands on it to really see if that's the case, but from word of mouth so far there is a 4K 60 FPS presentation on the Xbox Series X and the PlayStation 5 that has few to, if not any, performance issues at all. Now once again, that is something that we'd have to confirm in due course, but so far there's been no rumblings of any significant performance issues with those next gen consoles. When it comes to gameplay glitches though, if we compare this to the beta, it's clear that they've done a lot of work, they've fixed a lot of things, tweaked a lot of things, but that's not to say that everything has been fixed at all. And you know, we kind of expected this. There are some glitches that have passed directly over to the full game. Unfortunately, it's the likes of the UI bugging out. So for example, when you go down, you can't see if there's any friendlies around you, there's no HUD markers to indicate whether the person next to you is an enemy or a friendly. And since both teams look identical these days, it basically means it's impossible to indicate whether you're likely to get a res or not, which again leads to people just giving up on the spot and bleeding your tickets dry, which can be really frustrating in those clutch matches when every ticket counts. I'm also sad to say that the anti-airlock glitch has made a return too, which is always fun. So that happens when you ADS too quickly after firing your first anti-air rocket at a chopper or a jet or whatever it might be, and the game just doesn't register that you've ADS'd again for some reason. So you're aiming at the chopper once more, and there's no lock-on signal at all. There's not even a noise this time around. It just will not lock on no matter what you do. You have to stop aiming in and then aim back in and line up the shot once more. In which case, in that time, you're probably going to be taken out by whatever chopper or jet you were firing at to begin with. So you end up making yourself a glorified telescope rather than an effective AA soldier unit. Now I'm sure there's plenty more glitches out there, but I'll just mention one more, and that is the infinite down glitch. This is a new one, I feel, but it's happened to me and it's happened to a couple of streamers that I've seen as well. When you go down, no one knows what the trigger is, but you just end up in an infinite loop of being in a down state, which means that the countdown timer will not move, so you're not going to respawn, but also you cannot be revived by teammates, which wouldn't be so much of an issue if you could redeploy in the menu. But as we all know, if you're already in the down state, there's no chance of redeploying yourself, which is the first go-to for everyone. If you come across that glitch, it's the first thing I did, hit escape or hit start and go, I'll just click redeploy. But no, you don't have the option, so you're pretty much stuck there. So it leaves you with two options really if you're in that situation. Either hold on and wait that it fixes itself somehow, which I haven't seen happen yet, but I've heard rumors that eventually it does fix itself. I don't know how long people have been waiting for, but apparently it does. Or you simply leave the game, which again, not ideal in either circumstance really, is it? When it comes to gameplay though, besides all the glitches and bugs, how is it? What does it feel like? Well, at the moment, the action feels good, it feels like Battlefield, and it is fun. It really, really is fun. But it does feel a little lightweight in terms of the gunplay, which is funny because it kind of starts feeling like Battlefield Hardline in a sense, which is also really weird feeling and a really weird thing to say since they're very different games in terms of their ideals, but it does. I don't think I'm the only one who thinks that either. I've seen a couple of tweets out there and people saying this is just like Battlefield Hardline 2, which again, I understand in terms of the gunplay aspect, but not necessarily in terms of the gameplay because they're very, very different games. But in terms of the way the guns feel, I kind of understand where they're coming from in this one. It does feel strange. In terms of the movement though, it's kind of slow, bit sluggish, bit clunky, but that's DICE games for you. I think every Battlefield game's had a bit of a movement issue, especially at the beginning. They do tend to iron it out, but this one's no different from any other release as of so far. On top of all that though, I feel that there is a controller support issue. I don't know what it's like on console particularly, but on PC it feels the same way the beta did. It just feels like a lot of input lag and super unresponsive and basically unplayable at times. And this is coming from a guy who flips between mouse and keyboard and controller on a regular basis when it comes to the likes of Call of Duty. I play that on controller. When it comes to the likes of Insurgency Sandstorm and Squad, I play that on mouse and keyboard, of course. So I know what it's supposed to feel like switching between the two. And I know what smooth mouse and keyboard gameplay feels like and what smooth controller gameplay feels like, and this just misses the mark quite substantially. At first, it felt like it was just maybe the settings, so I went through for about 10 minutes trying to fine-tune the controller settings on PC. Nothing seemed to work. Maybe I'm going crazy, maybe it is just me, but again, it's one of those things that I've heard some people agreeing with me here and there when it's saying that it feels strange, it just doesn't feel right. Again, I can't put my finger on it. I want to know what the console players are feeling like at the moment, because it might just be a PC issue, but if it is a console issue as well, and everyone on console is feeling that kind of disconnection from the controller to the actual gameplay itself, then that needs fixing as soon as possible. It needs fixing anyway, because I do like to sit back and relax on a controller on my PC every now and again, so I'm kind of missing that aspect. But let me know if you've encountered this, because part of me just feels like I'm going a bit insane, so I need a bit more clarification on this and your opinion on that as well, at least just to make me feel better. My final point though is a little bit more subjective, but I guess the menus in the game are just a bit meh. It's not terrible, it really isn't, but it's just a bit of a faff. So customizing your class or weapon is just a bit of a pain now. There just seems to be way too many sub-menus to go through to change one item on one thing, on one area of your guy or your specialist or whatever they're called these days. It's not a huge deal, but it could definitely be streamlined. The other Battlefield games hit the nail on the head with these things, so this one just wants to throw that all away for some reason. I know they've had to implement new subclasses because it's not just medic, assault, support, etc. It's now this guy, that girl, this specialist, that person. But still, I still feel like a lot of work could be done to make it easier to change your attachments and gadgets. It just feels a little bit all over the place at the moment. But in terms of my final thoughts, I don't want this to ramble on too much because it's not the most positive video, and I'm sure it is a great game at its core, and to be honest, I actually believe that. I just want to reiterate that I like the game. I like how it feels. It's got a lot of promise, especially with the likes of Portal and things like I mentioned earlier. But after about 4 hours of playtime, there is a distinct lack of polish in some areas of Battlefield 2042. And the saddest thing is that we kind of expected it as well. It's certainly playable, at least you can say that, but it definitely suffers from a lack of identity. Pretty similar to Battlefield Hardline, actually, you could say, in that aspect as well. But let me know what you think. Have you got any more glitches to add to my list? I'm sure you do. Let me know in the comments down below, and until next time, guys, cheers.